My friends, welcome to this episode of the Outdoor Gear Review. I hope you're doing well. What I have here is the Esbit solid fuel large size stove. Over the last couple of months I've been testing out these stoves. There are 3 of them. There's a small, a regular, this is the large size. I'm a big fan of the other 2, the smaller sizes. But this large size, I'm not. I find that this product holds me back, it limits me. Whereas the other 2 stoves, I can use for just about any purpose. But that's not the case with the large size stove. Before I forget, Theo, thank you very much for sending this stove in to be tested out. You are appreciated, and I know that the Outdoor Gear Review community appreciates it as well. This, my friends, is the large size Esbit stove. The weight of this stove, all by itself, is 6.1 ounces. Now, when you purchase this stove, it comes with an entire box of fuel. When the stove is folded, you're looking at 5 inches by 3 inches, and it's 1.5 inches deep. This stove, like the other Esbit stoves, unfolds, and it does so just like this. It has 3 leg positions, so 1, 2, 3. You can see the burner plate in the center, you have air holes around it. That is a large size burner plate designed for the 27 gram tablets, but you can use the 14 gram if you want to, or even the smaller sizes. With this stove, there is no windscreen, and that is a big problem for this stove, and I'll talk about that in more detail in just a minute. The stove is made from galvanized steel, and the cost of this stove is $31, and that includes the box of fuel. Talking about fuel for a second, this is Hexamine. This is a solid fuel, it's a tablet, and this stuff absolutely stinks. I've mentioned this in the other episodes, but Hexamine, it smells bad. This is toxic. Never breathe this in. Do not breathe in the vapors when it's burning. After you touch this stuff, it's a good idea to wash your hands as well. In fact, the company recommends that you wear gloves when using this fuel. Before I fire up this stove and share with you all what I dislike about it, and also what I do like about it, let's talk about the company. Esbit is a German company, and the design for this stove came around in the 1930s. Since that point in time, it's been used with rescue organizations, it's been used with military forces, with backpackers, campers, and so on. The overall design of this is tried, true, and tested. But the thing is, that's for the smaller size, not this one here. Because of the larger dimensions of this stove, it becomes a very specific use case stove, a very specific use product. Whereas with the smaller versions, they could be used with any size cup, pot, pan. That's not the case with this. Because of the larger size of this stove, it can only be used with certain pots, certain cups, and certain pans. Let me show you what I'm talking about. With the pot supports vertical, these are 5 inches apart. And that's pretty big, folks. That's pretty big. That means to use this in this formation, you have to have a very good sized pot. This is a 750 milliliter cup. Take a look at that. It sits right in the middle. I know exactly what you're thinking. Luke, fold the legs in. Okay, let's do it. So the legs are now folded in, and check this out. It still does not work. It's still too wide. All right, let's fold it in again. This is the lowest stage that this will go. And at this level, the pot will sit there, but it's not secure. It's not stable by any means. I would not recommend using a stove like this that's this unstable. It's dangerous. And the issue here are the pot supports that stick up just like this. You have 2 on each side, and they create somewhat of an unstable platform. Here comes a much larger size pot, and it still doesn't fit very well. You basically have to turn it sideways and use it this way. Something else that you need to consider with a larger size stove like this is that it's not going to be as efficient as these smaller versions, and that's because you have more space for the heat to escape. Also, you do not have a windscreen here. So let's go ahead, let's fire up a few cubes, and let's boil some water. Personally, I'm a big fan of Hexamine. This is a very good fuel. It takes a few seconds with an open flame to get it going. If you haven't used Hexamine before, the first thing that you will notice about this product is that it stinks. It smells like shrimp, which some people find to be absolutely disgusting. For myself, I don't mind it all that much, but it does have a rather strong odor to it. And you can smell it through the packaging, through the box. That's why I recommend double bagging it. Take this, put it in a Ziploc bag, and maybe even another Ziploc bag. When burning 3 tablets at one time, you can see the amount of flame that's being put off. It's quite impressive. What's unfortunate, in my opinion, is that there is no windscreen with this stove. So any sort of wind, any sort of breeze, it is going to greatly influence the overall performance of this stove. You can see there, everyone, how the wind is influencing the flames. And that's enough to decrease the boiling that's taking place. It's blowing the heat away. I would classify the water as boiling now, and that took 8 minutes 42 seconds with 3 tablets. Those are the 14-gram tablets. With my testing, I find this stove to be less effective than the smaller versions. And also, the fuel tends to burn quicker. Instead of getting roughly 15 minutes per tablet, you're getting around 10, which is a substantial downgrade compared to the smaller size stoves, where you can easily get a tablet to burn 15 minutes. Now that we have the boil test out of the way, let's move over to the pros for this product, because it does have some. First off, it is plain and simple to use. It's easy to set up and easy to break down. The fuel is fantastic for emergencies, and all that it takes is a few seconds with the lighter to get it going. Also, everyone, when it comes to Hexamine, it works great at higher elevations and also in sub-zero conditions. Next up, the stove cools very quickly. The pot supports, they can be adjusted. So this will work with a variety of different pots, pans, and cups, but again, not all. It really does depend on the overall shape and size of the pot and cup and pan that you want to use. I do like the fact that this is capable of holding 12 fuel tablets, and the overall weight isn't all that bad. The stove with all 12 tablets comes in at 12.4 ounces. So all in all, that's not bad. Now let's move over to the cons, because unfortunately the cons outweigh the pros in this case. So first off, because this is a larger size stove, it doesn't work with all cups, pots, and pans, even when the legs are folded in. There's certain situations, because of the pot supports, those little legs, it just simply does not work. And that's a shame. That means that you can only use this with specific pots, with specific pans, and so on. In the end, that translates to a product that's less versatile. It translates to a product that you're going to use less often. Whereas the smaller size stoves, you could use those with any size pot, any size cup. They will perform just as well as this, if not better. Next up, everyone, the price of this is expensive, $34. That is very expensive for a foldable, collapsible stove made from galvanized steel. Whereas the smaller versions offer a great value for the money, I feel like this is going in the opposite direction than that. Next up, this stove features no windscreen, and that will greatly influence the overall performance of this stove. You saw with the boil that I just did, the overall performance was not very good. Some cons for the fuel: it can be difficult to get this to ignite in windy conditions. Also, it's toxic. Make sure not to breathe in any sort of dust or vapor from this product, and after touching it, make sure to wash your hands. Also, everyone, this fuel tends to leave behind quite a bit of residue, so you will have to wash your pots and cups afterwards. So right there you have it, everyone. Those are the pros and cons that I have for the larger size Esbit stove. All in all, I do not recommend this product. I think you're better off going with the medium size or the smaller one. They're both more versatile, you get better performance, they have windscreens, they're less expensive. All in all, I just don't like this. I've yet to find a situation where this was a better product than the smaller versions. As I mentioned before, this tends to hold me back more than assist me with my adventures, and that's a shame. Before I end this episode, I want to make sure to let you all know that I will have a comparison video coming up comparing each size of this stove: the small, the regular, and the large size. The differences between the 3 stoves may surprise you, and not in a way that you expect. Coming soon. I want to hear from you all. Make sure to comment down below and share your thoughts about this stove, specifically the larger size. Everybody loves the medium and the small size, but what about this larger one? For myself, as I mentioned, I'm not a fan. I think the smaller and the medium size are much better products, for the reasons that I've stated in this video. If you feel differently, comment down below. If you liked this episode and found it helpful, make sure to hit the like button, because it does help the channel. You can support on Patreon, on YouTube. I appreciate it. Folks, I'm done for now. Take care, be well, strength and honor. See you soon.